Even if Matt Harvey finds a team that's willing to sign him, he's probably going to be suspended for at least 60 days after saying on the record that he provided opioids to Tyler Skaggs on several occasions. He told Major League Baseball officials, this is just, it's not even something you want to make fun of, obviously. It's not something you want to make fun of. This is like a very sad scenario. Tyler Skaggs, for those of you who don't know, former Arizona Diamondbacks pitcher, former Los Angeles Angels pitcher as well, who died after overdosing in his hotel room, I believe. And it is just very sad to hear this. Harvey's admission in federal court on Tuesday qualifies as distribution under MLB's drug policy. And Harvey's currently a free agent, obviously, would be able to appeal the suspension. I don't think he should. Here's a quote from the MLB on this. Quote, once the trial is complete, MLB will conduct a comprehensive review of the potential violations and our drug program. We've talked about Tyler Skaggs and what he represents and all that stuff before. And this admission from Matt Harvey, it's weird because it's haunting on one level, but it's also just unbelievable that this could happen. But what do you got to say?
I mean, I love Harvey as a baseball player and everything like that. He obviously fell from grace. He went from the Mets, somehow I think ended up in Anaheim. Recently, he was in Baltimore, which nothing for nothing, dude. But once you end up with the Baltimore Orioles, I mean, that's the equivalent of like, just you got having to sign with the Jets. It's just sad. And then to hear this, I mean, everything like that, like, his name was kind of already tarnished given his fall as a baseball player. This off the field stuff and everything like that. Like the Tyler Skaggs thing was a big deal. Like when that news broke, like that was a big deal. Mm-hmm. And for this to come out and to him to be that closely, like directly related to it, it's not a good look and everything like that. And I hope for the best for Matt Harvey, but I mean, it's not looking good for my dude. It's really not looking good for my dude.
Yeah. I mean, the legal ramifications of this aside, I mean, like, and that's like probably the biggest thing. I mean, the legal and ethical stuff that's coming out of this. I mean, and we don't know whether it was, I don't think it was Matt Harvey who provided the stuff that he ended up dying with. But I mean, still, it is just haunting, man. Like that's the only word that comes to mind when I think about this. It's just haunting because the Skaggs thing, like you said, was so big when Tyler Skaggs died. It sent shockwaves throughout the entire baseball world because it happened basically on the team's watch. It happened on the team's watch, and apparently no one knew that this was happening, which is such bullshit. Because I understand that I'm sure there were people who obviously didn't know it, right, Andrew? I'm sure there were people who didn't know that this was a thing, but at the same time, the fact that there was at least one player who was in Major League Baseball who was part of distributing opioids to other players, and Skaggs is the one we know. We don't know, and I'm not saying he did or didn't, but we don't know who else is out there doing this kind of stuff. It just proves to you, man, that somewhere or another, like these drug programs, these drug tests that these players go through, we all know they're bullshit. Like genuinely. We all know that, like, forget steroids, but like we all know it's all just for show. I mean, it's baffling to me. Pat McAfee literally admits, right, on his show every day that, like, yeah, dude, I smoke weed and there's ways to get out of drug tests and blah blah. He half of his show half the time is just him talking about how he eluded drug testing in the NFL and how easy it was at some points, right? And it goes for other major league sports as well. I mean, they need to look, and I'm not saying don't do it. Like weed is just like that. They shouldn't be testing for that anyway, because I'd rather have players smoking weed than actually like putting like harmful opioids and all that other stuff in their bodies, right? Like painkillers. Like no, you can get addicted to that stuff.
I mean, some could argue the cocaine. Some could argue that made Lawrence Taylor better on the field.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, okay, but I mean, not off the field though. Definitely not off the field. But But just to put a bow on it, I mean, it is just the MLB, the NBA, the NFL. They really need to rethink this kind of stuff, man. And you're right, Matt Harvey is a fall from grace, and not a lot of people are gonna look at him the same. And it's because, and again, it's not that he killed him, but the fact that he was involved in some way in distributing drugs to Tyler Skaggs, it's going to be a big asterisk on his name for the rest of his career as far as baseball fans go. Assuming he has
a shame too. I mean, it really is a shame. It might be done at this point. How old is Harvey? I think Harvey's he's pushing 32. He's not exactly the youngest of guys and everything like that. And just given his track record, his fall from grace, I mean, this is around the age where players, it's either like, if they're still serviceable, they could latch on to a good team if they're still serviceable. He hasn't really been, the player that he once was. He has been a shell. He hasn't even been a shell of the player he once was. Like, the numbers have not, been that great. So, I mean, and then just given this and everything like that, it might be it. Like, this might be it. It might just be time for him to call it quits. He had a very good start to his career, kind of came out of nowhere, fell from grace, and then this just kind of made it worse. Like, this could be his, that's how he's going to go out.
Hey everyone, we hope you liked this video. If you did, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. Until next time, keep it real.